And hello, ladies and gentlemen. What's good? It is your boy 630, aka the Third Son, coming at ya. Wanted to kind of ask how everybody was doing on this fine April day. Um, over the weekend. Just wanted to drop another installment in the intermediate longsword guide series that I've been cooking up. Um, who I have rocking with me today is the Risen Handler. Yes, you heard right. The Risen Handler. This is one of my characters. This is the first name that I had on Monster Hunter Wilds. I'm probably one of the 5 people in existence who has an appreciation and a respect for the handler. Please don't crucify me super mega ultra much for that. I can explain. I'm probably gonna do so in another video. Yeah. But yeah. And also please don't click off because of that. Click off because I yap too much, but please don't click off because of that. I beg of you. But either way, yeah, we stand for the handler. um no handler slander. But yeah, either way, she's over here. She's buff as heck. She's muscle mommying it out, and I freaking love it. Forgive the cringe. And in addition to that, we got a weapon. We got a long sword, baby. And she's also risen, as in call out to rise. Ha 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 ha. The curious bullshit and the anomaly bullshit that was happening. That's Curious Quentin up there. He's Quentin because of the Sapphire Star, aka the Fifth Fleet. Let's get it. Let's freaking get it. But for real. Um, so yeah, I wanted to continue the longsword installment, and I wanted to talk about the power moves that you got at your disposal. We got a spirit gauge. We got spirit gauge levels. Now we want to figure out if we can broaden our depth of how we work it. And so that's the reason why I'm doing this video right now. This one should be a good chunk review. Like, we probably already kind of sort of know a good bit of this by heart, but I wanted to see if I can just go a little bit more in depth with some stuff, especially when it comes to Spirit Blades 1 and 2, and, some other stuff just to talk about. Let me go on ahead and let me take the wounds off for this one. Apply the changes. All right, so my little outline for this one, we're going to talk about the power moves. We'll start off with the Spirit Blade combo. I'll discuss parts of it, different ways that you can apply it. Then we'll talk about the red gauge and the perks that it has. We'll talk about your different moves that we have in this new iteration, which we kind of know, but just kind of pry a little bit more. We got the Helm Breaker, the Foresight Whirl slash, Crimson, spinning Crimson slash, etc., etc., etc. We got infinite combos in red gauge, and those are like some of our key tools in red gauge, in addition to the fact that we have infinite red gauge, or not infinite red gauge, but like infinite spirit gauge when we're in red gauge. Um, then we'll go over the spirit charge, and then we'll talk about the focus strike at the end, which can be used to, um, reinforce pretty much everything else. And also, the spirit charge does have new combo opportunities. If you're over here and you made it to this corner, this quiet corner of the internet, then you probably already know that Spirit Blade Charge has some cancels to it. But we'll go over it again just in case you don't. So, let's go on ahead and let's kick it off. Spirit Blade combo. Let me fill up the gauge. Uh, uh. So, just 3 triangle hits. 1, 2, 3, 4. In 3 triangle hits, you fill up the gauge enough in order to get your whole 4-piece combo off. As you can see on the screen, that's what it looks like. Spirit Blade 1, 2, 3, and then Round Slash. I want to call your attention to Spirit Blade 3 first. This is a little weird and wonky. I want to save 1 and 2 for last because they're awesome. Spirit Blades, oh yeah, and by the way, as you probably know, just like with a lot of your longsword moves, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself, your Spirit Blade combo can be delayed. All right, so we could do 1, wait a bit, 2, wait a bit. We can delay that. The reason why that's very, very helpful and important is because you know those monsters, those moments when a monster is ever so slightly out of range, and you're just going through the combo. You nail your Spirit Blade 3, and then the monster just decides to just F off somewhere, but they're coming right back, and you're just going like, bruh, you left the combo. That's rude and disrespectful. Why, bro? So you wait a little bit, you wait a little bit, you wait a little bit, and then you just hit the round slash. So, wait a minute. And now you're able to get that hit. By the way, Spirit Round Slash has some forward momentum. Like so. See that shit? And it has a very, very wide arc. So it's got a very high probability of hitting the monster. So that's very, very, very high amounts of busting. Now, back to Spirit Blade 3. Spirit Blade 3 is the riskiest move that you have in the set because it takes the most time. It's the most committal. And in addition to that, you already need to use that move in the middle of a combo that you already have to do a commitment to anyway. It's like, because you have Spirit Blade 1 and 2 before Spirit Blade 3, that essentially adds to the amount of time that it takes to pull off Spirit Blade 3 more often than not. Because you need to first get to Spirit Blade 3, and then you need to do Spirit Blade 3. Spirit Blade 3 itself is a heavy commitment when it comes to time. It can be canceled like so. You can cancel it with a roll. You can cancel it. Whoops, my bad, hold on. You can cancel it with a roll. You can cancel it with a sheath. And shoot, I did it too late. You can cancel it with a Foresight Slash. Let me try it again, but cleaner. So those are your 3 options that you can cancel out of that move with. An evasion, a special sheath, or a Foresight Slash if you need to get out of trouble. So you can kind of sort of mitigate the risk of Spirit Blade 3 with that, which is very, very good. But just keep in mind that if you go into it, it is going to be a commitment. Now, that being said, what I just said isn't really going to deter anyone from using that move or spamming that move or abusing that move. Because Spirit Blade 3 is that effing important. It's the most damaging hit in the combo, with like the Spirit Round Slash being just behind it. And in addition to that, you're only 1 more Spirit Blade or 1 more Spirit Charge away from leveling up your gauge. So if you've already come as far as Spirit Blade 3, you're gonna risk it for the biscuit. Let's not even beat around the bush when it comes to that. I would risk it for the biscuit, and I told you about the risk. The reason why I'm mentioning it anyway, despite the fact that it's not really gonna change shit, is because that knowledge can generally be the difference between a calculated risk or just being plain risky. And if you ever need to hit the kill switch on Spirit Blade 3, even though it's essentially going to be like a denied climax when you do, you at least know how to do it. So there is that. So continuing on, we also got the Spirit Round Slash, which we don't really need to talk about like virtually at all. We already know what the deal is. RX Gaming put us on game. Not only does this thing level up your gauge, but you can cancel it into anything. Or you can cancel it into an attack. You can cancel it into a roll. Or not into. Whoops. Sorry. My bad. Not into. Not into. You can cancel after it. I apologize. You can cancel after it. Didn't mean to screw that up. Let me do charge again just to kind of demonstrate. Special sheath. The whole nine. So that's very, very important this iteration. Because from past games, specifically World, you didn't have the option to cancel that. You just kind of sort of had to, like, the only thing you could really do is cancel it into your special sheath, which is good, but special sheath in and of itself is still a risk. It's one that's worth it, but it's still a risk, and it's the lesser of two evils in comparison to, like, the long sheathing animation, which is this. Note how many years that move takes. You generally want to avoid doing that. And another thing, a trap when it comes to Spirit Round Slash that I want to put y'all on game to. You notice how I kind of sheathed when I did that? Don't wait too late. And I'll explain why. So I'll demonstrate it again. That. I have found myself accidentally doing that when I'm out on hunts. And the reason why is because generally when you're using moves like this, you can wait for a while and then you can just do what you got to do. Stab, wait for a bit, and then counterattack or Foresight Slash or dodge or whatever the hell. So it's kind of like transferring your habit from the circle button where you can like stab, wait a minute, and then Foresight, dodge, duck, weave, all that other good shit. You have a tighter window with which you can do that with Foresight Slash. With Spirit Round Slash. Just keep that in mind. So, like, you know, don't be like me where you're going like, all right, I just finished my Spirit Round Slash. What's the monster going to do next? I'm watching for it. Wait a second. Why in the world is my hunter sheathing? I don't want him to sheath yet. No! Whack. You got hit. So don't make the same mistake that I did. So now with that out the way, and I think I went over this already, but just in case I didn't, you can also delay your attacks. Yes, I did go over that already. And you can also pad your Spirit Blade combo with circle buttons just in case you need more meter. So let's say, Spirit Blade 2, Spirit Blade 3, Round Slash. Now, don't be so quick to do it with the triangle button because you're just going to reset your combo. And also, try not to do it too much. Let me see if it works with Fade. Nah, it's going to go into a new combo. Okay, so pretty much if you pad it with circle, you can extend the combo and it'll pretty much save your spot, so to speak, in the combo. And then you can kind of sort of keep on going from there. So if you ever need some meter, you can build that up with that while you're executing the Spirit Blade combo. So now, let's continue on to the wonder and the blessing that is Spirit Blade 1 and Spirit Blade 2. I love what Wilds did with this. Let me get back down to regular. All right, and all right. And so, let's see. So let me build up some meter. Chop that ass down. And then, so this move is safe. That move is safe. And allow me to demonstrate why. Spirit Blades 1 and Spirit Blades 2 is safe. You see how fast I could do a Foresight Slash after executing that move? Now, let's try 2. It's literally just after the attack. If you can do Foresight Slash after that, it's safe. You can dodge 2. You can do a thrust after that, the whole 9 yards, like I was saying earlier. Stab, stab, stab. And then go from there. So, yeah. So 1 and 2 are both in the similar vein, and they're both very, very, very high amounts of safe because of the fact that you can do Foresight Slash or anything else out of it just that fast. And also, new addition, they're movable as well, which means that you get free positioning off of both Spirit Blade 1 and Spirit Blade 2. Very, very beautiful. And you will have more control over that positioning with focus mode. So watch this. See that? You can move with Spirit Blades 1 and 2. So let me do Spirit Blade 2. All right. So let's try it with focus mode so that I can go to the left and right a little bit easier. Sorry, I went to 3. So that. All right. So you can move forward with your Spirit Blade 1 and you can close the distance. Stop 1. And then just continue the combo from there. Or you can, if you want to position in front of the monster, like if you're a little bit behind the monster, you can do, that didn't quite work out like I planned, but you know, you get the idea. So, and then you can kind of move while doing that. So, and then with focus mode, it gets even easier to do that because it can be a little bit of a stunt going to the left and to the right where you want, and sometimes to the back. If you have focus mode, you can do the Spirit Blade movement moves. You can do those without having to like do it after an attack first. So in other words, you can go back like this with 1, back again with 2, or you can go like that, or you can go like that. Focus mode generally just makes it easier for you to position or for you to put in those inputs easier. So chop 1, double back. Back and forward, the whole 9. And so the reason why I think that those things are like the best things since sliced bread is because they help out your positioning like a mother flipper. Like a mother flipper. You see, that positioning power gives you aggressive. One take. Gives you offensive and defensive positioning options. You can use it offensively because you can obviously use it to get in. Spirit Blade 1 has more reach, bitches. Yeah. And so does Spirit Blade 2. But you can also use it defensively. Let's say the monster's like trying to like attack and do some shit. You can just go like, okay, to the left, everything you own in the box to the left. At your side, that's where I get my buff. When I stab your wound, you won't be so tough. Yeah. And keep talking that mess, that's fine. I can win and play neutral at the same time. That's my name, that's on your ass. I'ma capture your ass, I'ma call you a cat. You must not know about me, you must not know about me. Bitch, I'm about to neuter you in a minute. Turn you into a po-po food in a minute, baby. Okay, let me stop goofing off right now, bro. But you get the idea. You can position yourself defensively because you get to smooth out the way of the monster's shit while attacking at the same time, which allows you to take your turn during their turn. And you can also obviously use it to get in and fuck shit up. The whole nine. So yeah, try to experiment with that movement that Spirit Blade 1 and Spirit Blade 2 offers you, and then see where you can take the shit. Very, very, very great. I love what Wilds did with that. So yeah, that explains the combo pretty much. And we know that you can use Spirit Charge in order to get shit on credit. But I'll talk more about that a little bit later. Now, let's talk about Red Gauge. First, let me get into it. So, as we know, Red Gauge is essentially a time limit where you have infinite meter, which allows you to abuse the ever-loving dog shit out of your Spirit Blade moves. It's like you can... Red Gauge is pretty much your free leeway to wild out and just... and then reset. Shit. Dang it. But you get the idea. You can just abuse your spirit combos to your heart's content. Keep on rolling, keep on rolling. Your mama's a hoe. Your mama be wildin' and all that other good stuff. The whole Forbidden Lands knows about your mama. Yada, yada, yo. And your daddy, he's a bitch nugget. I'ma give your dad the credit that he was in your life. He went to go get the milk and he came back. I can give you that. I can give you that. But there's just one problem. Even though your dad went out to get the milk, that milk came from his breasts. That is your father's breast milk. You want to know why? Because your dad is a bitch. Okay, anyway. So, what I lost track of is that I did this at the end of my thing. All right, so getting back to the plot, not getting lost in my own head. What I just did there was the most powerful sequence that we got as Longswords. Spirit Helm Breaker into Spirit Release Slash. The Spirit Release Slash afterwards has armor, so when you're pulling it off, you don't get hit out of it. You can also delay this move ever so slightly so that you can literally pull the trigger on it at the right time. Oh, the All Harkin. I gotta get to her soon. You can literally pull the trigger on it at the right time. And you can armor through an attack that comes next. So feel free to experiment with that delay and see what you can get out of it. You don't have to commit to it, though, because you don't want to risk losing your Spirit Release Slash in general. But it's an option. Pretty much because of the inherent armor that Spirit Release Slash has, the monster just kind of sort of has to hold your nuggets for that one, for real, for real. You get put back at white gauge, but you get a full stick of butter that you can spend to build that gauge back up. And then, you know, just going from there. And let me get back into red gauge again. Red gauge lasts like what, 50 seconds, I think, from what I looked up before. And what I've learned from fighting Cowboy, because I saw a tutorial from him, you don't necessarily want to play it the same way that you would in World or somewhere else, where it's like you get the red gauge and then you spend it almost as soon as you get it. You want to pretty much stretch red gauge and get your money's worth out of it so that you can really optimize that damage, take advantage of this, take advantage of the Crimson Slash, very high amounts of busting. That 144 is talking to me and calling my name, Yaga, all that. you can take advantage of different infinite combos, such as their Y into B or triangle into circle if you roll like that. Or spice it up. Y, right trigger, Y, right trigger, Y, right trigger. Get him with that big fat damage, that damn Daniel damage with that spirit release slash. So yeah, you got a lot of stuff. You got a lot of stuff that you can do. Shoot. Red gauge again. So yeah, like Fighting Cowboy mentioned, it's like, you know, don't lean so hard back into the old way that you miss out on all the damage that you can get out of Red Gauge. And then, like, when your Red Gauge is getting ready to end, that's when you can drop your Helm Splitter and your Helm Breaker into the release slash. We talked about the infinite combos that just loop that shit, whoop that trick, whoop that trick. And let's see, says the blind man. And in addition to that, round slash, crimson slash. Hang on. Round slash and your spinning crimson slash fill up your gauge up to 3 times. So in other words, like your spirit round slash and your spinning crimson slash, they share the same 3 extensions if you land them. So it's like if you do any sequence of those 3 times, that's the maximum that you can, like, you know, use to extend. You can only extend it 3 times with either spirit round slash or spinning crimson slash. So just keep that in mind. And as soon as you get into your red gauge, so for instance, if you do this, you have the option to throw a spinning crimson slash out the gate as soon as you get in it. Now, the thing is, if you use that crimson slash now, hang on, let me test it. Yeah, if you use that spinning crimson slash as soon as you get into red gauge, you won't be able to use it later, which isn't really that much of a problem. But if you really, really want to get your money's worth out of it, out of red gauge in general, it's a good idea to keep that in mind. So let's switch this to smash mode to demonstrate Foresight Whirl. Ow. I screwed that up royally. Ow, my face. All right. We pay attention to the gauge. I screwed that up. And I screwed that up again. We We'll take it. All right. So, if you will notice, let me put it on. Yeah, I'll put it on standby. Yeah, don't inflict. We'll put it on wound. And then apply that. All right. So, if you'll notice, when I was pulling off those Foresight slash dodges, the Foresight Whirl slash dodges, it extended the gauge ever so slightly. It costs a good chunk in order to pull off the move, so it's going to cut your time in red gauge if you miss the parry. But if you get the parry, then it's going to reward you gauge, and then you can continue your combo. And the red gauge version of the Foresight slash, which is the Foresight Whirl slash, it meshes very, very well into the rest of your shit. Because whereas the regular Foresight Slash does the parry and then does the attack, the Foresight Whirl Slash does the parry and the attack at the same time, which is actually very, very high amounts of bussing because you can pretty much flow into whatever you want. You're generally going to flow back into your Spirit Round Slash, which it still lets you do afterwards, into your Spinning Crimson Slash, but you also have the option to just do whatever you want from there. And even if you don't land the parry successfully, you still have options with that shit. You can, like, there's times where I missed it and I just went right back into the Spirit combo, and then, like, the back end of it, so to speak, the later parts of it landed where I needed them to. And then I could just go back to work. Now, on the subject of missing your Foresight Whirl Slash parry, I will say this. Missing it can be a little bit of a pain in the butt, but if you ask me, there's no real downsides to missing your Foresight Whirl Slash. Yes, you heard me correctly. There is no downsides to missing that. And I'm going to explain why. The move is so freaking good. You still got iframes with that shit. You still got a parry window. If you successfully get the parry, you extend your time in the gauge. If you lose the parry, then you shorten your time in red gauge that you're pretty much going to get back anyway. Yes, you're going to get it back anyway. Remember what I said in the earlier videos. As long as you're making an effort to play the longsword the way that you got to play it, which is crash out on the monster responsibly and break your foot off in the monster's ass, you're never going to run out of meter. Fluid motions, consistent attacks, keep that uptime up. Step back when you need to, but just go in and just do your damage. You're going to get that meter back. So there's no reason to stress about your time in red gauge getting cut. You're not wasting it if you miss your Foresight Whirl Slash, in my opinion. Plus, even on miss, that move is good because you're generally going to be right up close to the monster just swinging for your life anyway. And then when you do your Foresight Whirl, you're going to like leap all the way back here and you're going to attack the monster. Let me get back into red to kind of sort of demonstrate what I mean. It'll be easier to show you. All right, so I'm wilding out on the monster. Yeah. Wild out slash. Reset. You want to learn how to do a fucking infinite? I'm going to show y'all mother flippers how. Light punch, medium punch, heavy kick, heavy punch, mother flipper. What's good? What's good? Foresight with no attack whatso freaking ever. Foresight with no attack coming whatso freaking ever. Foresight. You see the you see the distance that gives you? You see the hit that I still get on the monster? I'm hitting the monster as I'm backing out. And I stay out when I back out. And I've got iframes to cover my way out. I am not losing anything except for time in red gauge when I use that move. There's virtually no disadvantages to that move. And if I ever need it back, actually no. If I ever need it back, the defense rests. Now, granted, I will give this disclaimer. I'm not saying to just be an ignoramus about the subject and just like spam your Foresight Whirl Slash with reckless abandon. I'm not saying that at all. You should use Foresight Whirl Slash defensively 90% of the time. You should use it when you're trying to avoid the monster's bullshit and trying to, like, you know, stop the monster's bullshit. Obviously, you should. But I'm just saying, sometimes you're going to miss it. If Eric's Gaming is not immune to this shit, and he told us that he wasn't immune to this shit in his world guides, then we're not immune to it. So you don't have to stress yourself out if you miss a Foresight Whirl Slash and you go like, oh, God damn it, I missed my Foresight Whirl Slash. Oh my God. It's not the same as missing a regular Foresight Slash. If you miss with the red gauge Foresight Slash, you're still winning. Worst case scenario. That's all I'm saying. Don't try to miss. But if you do, you're not doing anything wrong. That's just my 2 cents on the matter. And then when it comes to your spinning Crimson Slash, if I didn't cover it already, and also your round slash, when you're in red gauge, both of those attacks can extend the amount of time that you have in red gauge. But the issue is that you can only use either of those moves to extend it a total of 3 times. So in other words, you can use either or to extend 3 times. So it's like 1 round slash, 2 spinning Crimson Slashes, no more spinning Crimson Slashes afterwards or whatnot. Or 2 round slashes, 1 spinning Crimson Slash, the whole 9. Either way, you can only extend it up to 3 times actively. You can use Power Prolonger if you really, really want to extend that time and just really just make it hurt for the monster. You can do that. You can. It'll get you to like, I think, 1.5 minutes, if I recall correctly, but don't quote me on that. It'll be above 1 minute for certain. But still. So, I guess while I'm here, we talked about the infinites. Let me talk about Helm Breaker real quick. Just in case you did not know, you can aim your Helm Breaker, you can move a little bit while you're in the air, and you can also cancel it. This will be very, very helpful. Observe. Move, aim. So the way that you move is when you're in the air, you can use like your Y button or even your B button or triangle or circle while you're in the air to aim it. So kind of like this. And use that in conjunction with your left thumbstick. And let me build it back up. And if you use this, you can also cancel it mid-air if the monster wants to just nope the hell out of there while you're in the air. Oh, he's running. Why are you running? Why are you running? You can just sheath it while you're in the air. Shoulder sideways, sheath it in the air. Monster moving side to side, sheath it in the air. But yeah, you have that option so that you don't have to inadvertently waste your spirit gauge. So, those are very, very important to note. Especially for red gauge, which is kind of sort of the only time that you want to do your Helm Breaker anyway, because that's where you can get the most out of it. Speaking of which, that reminds me. Helm Breaker. When you're in red gauge, there's a debate, and I think I touched on this a little bit earlier. Remember how I talked about how Fighting Cowboy mentioned that you should... Hang on. How you should get your money's worth out of red gauge first, and then towards the end of it, you want to burn it on the Helm Breaker. I would like to counterbalance that by saying this. Definitely stick to that as your default mode of operation, but also keep in mind that sometimes the tides of battle can change. You might find situations where it's perfectly justifiable to do this when your spirit gauge is more than halfway. And the reason why that is, let's say if you're dealing with a monster who's either paralyzed or a monster who is staggered or toppled, or, you know, maybe if a monster is even sleep, like if you're hunting solo and the monster's asleep and there's no greatsword to wake it up or anything like that, you know. So if you're dealing with a situation like that, a bird in the hand is generally worth 2 in the bush. So you might as well spend it now. Even I've had situations where it's like, all right, it's definitely worth it for me to just go on ahead and just dump the whole load on them now. instead of trying to stretch it out and optimize shit. Because you might miss out on a chance to apply the strongest move in your arsenal if you stay just hard stuck in the optimization mindset. Not that trying to optimize it is bad, but sometimes the situation might call for you to just go like, okay, the monster's not moving for 7 seconds. I'm in red gauge. I can get red gauge back. Let me drop this deuce on him real quick. Or maybe that's not the right way to word it. Let me drop a load on him real quick. Damn. Let me drop this full release. That's Switch X. Let me drop this spirit release slash on him real quick. There we go. We're just gonna yeah. What just happened in the last 30 something seconds? That didn't happen at all. Nobody clipped that. I know this is YouTube, but nobody clipped that shit. So yeah. So with Helm Breaker, you got options. So let's see. I'm closing. I won't be before you long, but there's also Spirit Charge to talk about. We did talk about how you could buy the whole Spirit combo on credit with yeah, and you can level up your gauge for free almost, with the only real trade-off being time. It takes a little bit longer to do, but there's also more advanced shit that you can do that, like, like the top tier longsword folks and like the speedrunners will get into, such as this. Or even this. Hang on. What both of those was the EI stance cancel and the Foresight / cancel. So, hang on, let me drop this down, because this will make it plain. All right. So, with Spirit Charge, you charge up at the expense of a little bit of stamina and a lot of time. But if you're starting from just like level 0, empty bar, you're broke, you got no levels, you got no money, you can cancel into that. And let me empty it out. You hear how you still get that prompt with the Foresight / cancel? That's the magic of Spirit Charge. Spirit Charge fills up your gauge ever so slightly, and you don't need a lot of it so that you can add juice to your Foresight /. So if you're strapped for meter, you can just monster attack coming, give up that meter, that little teensy weensy bit of meter that it needs, and then you can go straight into a beefed up Foresight, which goes into your round slash. And you can just kind of sort of pull that out depending on how your timing is. And another thing is, you can also, I don't really use this myself because I'm not that good, but so if you ever see somebody do some godlike longsword shit where they're just sheathing and then and then sheath immediately after, they're using the Spirit Charge cancel in order to do that. So that sets up your EI Spirit / consecutive EI Spirit slashes pretty much almost for free. You just got to get the timing right. So how you do the cancel is you hold it, and then like during the first split second or close to the first split second, you cancel by tapping either your X or your circle, or if you're on Xbox, your A or your B, or if you're on Switch, your B or your A, the whole nine. And you have to do it quick like, because like if it goes past your shoulder, I forget who the dude was, If it goes past your shoulder, you can't do it. Like the dude that had like the dreads, very, very good longsword player. He makes his own advanced guides. But he was just like, the moment that the blade raises up past your shoulder, you can't pull it off. So you got to do it before that. So, so you hold, tap the applicable face button. So you hold, tap the applicable face button, and go from there. And so my own little personal trick that I would like to add to the pot is for the spirit gauge, if you just straight up hold the button, this is what's going to happen. There we go. It's like you're going from 1 to 2 in one fell swoop. So, If you double tap the trigger, however, this is what you end up with. Notice how it's a little subtle, but notice how quick I went into the spirit charge. See? So I like to double tap it just to make it come out a little bit quicker. With the other one, where you just hold the button, it goes in a little bit later. Shoot. But it does take a little bit of work to do. Not a lot of work, but just a moderate amount. So that might be able to help you on your journey. Just double tap the button or double tap the trigger so that you can pop off and do both of those fast. It'll be just a little bit faster, but still. So yeah, that can definitely help. And you can also use your spirit's charge to go through the whole combo, go straight to your round slash. This can be very, very helpful. So let's say I'm behind the monster. We'll assume that this is the monster's ass. And I do a sneak attack, B button, charge all the way, let go, hopefully before the monster roars, and then you'll get yourself a level up for free. Let's see. So you can kind of do that. And another trick is this. If you do the sneak attack and then you charge all the way, you do this, and then you can do round slash afterwards if the monster roars and if you get the timing right. So in essence, you do your sneak attack, you spirit charge all the way to your round slash. You can cycle through the whole shebang with that just by charging it. It just takes some time. You hit the round slash and level up your gauge. You do like your B to extend because you can't go straight into your foresight slash after your round slash. And then you do your foresight slash on the roar itself when you know that it's coming. And then you connect with that. And then you attack. And then you'll be leveling up to pretty much at round start, which will give you free reign to just do whatever you want. You'll have the damage boost. You can go into red gauge after that, the whole 9 mother flipping yards. You'll be eating real, real good, believe you me. So just wanted to toss those into the pot. And I don't really see you using this much, but let me go on ahead and dump this. And let me dump the other one. All right. So you can also use the spirit gauge. Like I said, you can cycle through whatever. You get your first hit virtually for free. And then you can charge up. When the blade goes to 12 o'clock, you could do that. And then just spirit charge out the round slash. Or you can... Yeah, I covered that already. Yeah. All right. Or you can... You can go from there. So you can kind of sort of skip whichever steps you want. So instead of just doing the first hit all the way over to the round slash attack, you can kind of sort of finesse the first 2 hits and then go all the way to the round slash, or you can do the first hit, go all the way over to the third one because it's quicker than the last one, and then you can just go straight into the last one afterwards. So it's like you can kind of shorten the bar. Instead of getting all the way over to the round slash, which will take some time, you can go to Spirit Blade 3 and then charge out the round slash if you want, like so. Kind of like that. Yeah. And you don't necessarily have to use that. I'm not saying that you're definitely going to get a lot of mileage out of that move, but it's there for you when and if you need it. Like, the one time that you need it, you'll probably be happy that you can do that. Just to kind of sort of milk it out for that particular situation. You know those moments in life where you have a weird looking puzzle piece and then you come across the one moment in time where that puzzle piece actually fits? That's kind of sort of what I might have showed you. So I'll be experimenting around with it a lot too. So that is Spirit Charge. And in addition to that, you can also just use it to fill up your gauge, because why the flip not? And then when you fill up your gauge, just kind of hold that shit like Kirby's hammer from Super Smash Bros. Yeah. And go from there. And so now, let's see. All right. So now let's move on to the next thing, which I think is actually the last thing. Focus strikes. Just in case you didn't know already, longswords need to worry about wound management on some level. We can't just hit wounds willy-nilly, because those wounds can help us get back to red gauge faster. The way that our focus strike works is that we stab a wound, and then we can aim the focus mode towards other wounds so that we can catch a shit ton of them in one fell swoop. So let me kind of sort of angle over here. Actually, let me try something. Give me a sec. I want to try something. Let me see if I can pull this off. No! I didn't want to destroy that wound. Ah, the heck with it. Okay, fine. Well, we'll wait for it to kind of proc back up. So I'm at level 0 right now. We're gonna focus strike this one. Is this other one gonna pop open? Wow. Okay. And come on, open up. Sorry, technical difficulties. Completely and utterly accidental. Okay, so it should pop open soon. All right, so we got all 3. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna stab you, and we're gonna point towards y'all. In one fell swoop, I hit 3 wounds, and the red gauge is right the flip there. See it in black and white. So, the Unbound Thrust, our focus strike, levels us up for each and every single wound that we're able to pop with it. So what you do is you hit 1, and then you aim it to where you can hit a shit ton of wounds afterwards, like so, and then you can level up your gauge. The reason why this is important is because since we kind of need to go up to red gauge and then just wild out in red gauge, we kind of need to regulate the wounds, because the wounds that we pop now, we won't be able to use later to boost ourselves back up to red gauge and then go from there. Now, this isn't anything for you to stress about, because the reality of the situation is wounds, just like your meter, is going to come and go. If you stress too much about optimizing them, you're going to trip over yourself 9 times out of 10, and you're going to have trouble optimizing them. If you try to squeeze as much damage out of that wound with your normal attacks and other shit, instead of using your focus attacks on them, you might wind up popping them or this, that, and the third. But even still, it's worthwhile to keep that in your peripheral so that when you're wilding out in red gauge and all that other good stuff, you just do this, aim, and you'll get back up. And it took care of all of them except for this one. Okay, I got lucky with that other one. So you kind of get the idea. When it comes to longsword, wound management is a definite thing that you have to worry about. If you're on a team, it can get a little bit harder to do because, like, all of the hunters on your team are generally going to be like sharks in the water. You can only really control you, but the moment that they see blood, they're going for the shit. And you also need to resist the urge to do that as well. So if you are the longsword on your team and other people don't recognize that you're the longsword on their team, then you don't have to stress too much about it, because you could just, let's say if they were to pop all of those wounds and stuff and you don't have any, the monster is probably going to get staggered anyway. So you can use that to just go through your whole combo. And then level up your gauge and then wild out as normal. So wound management is a thing for longsword, but it's also nothing to stress about. Leave your wounds and look for your wounds when you have to level back up to red after you blow it. Or, yeah, after you, like, just spend the cash. But, just in case you don't end up getting any wounds, it's not the end of the world. We still got Foresight Slash. If you're playing with other people, if they want to hog up all the wounds, let them. Just work around them. It's not going to be that difficult. And so that is kind of what I wanted to talk about. I know it took me a year to kind of sort of get through that. I'm sorry it takes me a lot of time. But I just wanted to say thank you for popping in and all that other good stuff. And I will see you guys next time. Say goodbye, Handler. Say goodbye, Quentin. Peace.